Hey guys, welcome back to another the SMA Victor Podcast. I am your host, Victor, aka Victortheinspiration. And we have a fascinating topic to go over with you guys, which is why is Evrysdi so expensive? So let's get right into today's episode. Hi, ChatGPT. I want you to be my co-host within today's episode. And within today's episode, we are going to be discussing why is Evrysdi so expensive. And it says Evrysdi is expensive due to the high cost of developing a breakthrough treatment for a rare disease, the limited patient population, and the drug company's strategy to recoup research and development costs and maximize profits before patents expire. The drug's high price is also influenced by the lack of government price regulation in the US, allowing companies to set prices based on what the market will sustain, particularly for these orphan drugs which treat conditions affecting fewer than 200,000 Americans. So ChatGPT, can you please break this down for myself and the audience listening?
Absolutely. So the main reason Evrysdi is pricey is that it's a breakthrough treatment for a rare disease, and developing such medications is extremely costly. Since the patient pool is small, the companies need to set a higher price to recover those research and development expenses. On top of that, in the US, there's not much government regulation on drug pricing, so companies can charge what the market can bear, especially for these orphan drugs that treat rare conditions.
So it says high research and development costs. Bringing a new drug to market, especially one for a rare condition, requires significant investments in research and development that can take many years and millions of dollars. So essentially what this means is that there was a lot of extensive research that went on during the developmental phase before Evrysdi, which is Risdiplam, became known to the general public. How long did it take for the developments to, how long was the process from when the developments first began to when the developments actually experienced the breakthrough within the SMA community for Risdiplam, which is Evrysdi?
The development of Evrysdi actually started back in 2009, and after a series of clinical trials, it got FDA approval in August 2020. So all in all, it took about 11 years from the start of development to when it was finally available.
So it took 11 years for research and developments before it became known to the general public or known to the SMA community. So it says small patient population. Since Evrysdi treats a rare disease, spinal muscular atrophy, or SMA, the potential patient pool is small. Pharmaceutical companies price these drugs high to make up for the lower number of sales. So essentially what this is saying is that because SMA is rare in the SMA community, because SMA is rare, which is the neuromuscular condition, there's not many people that are going to need this type of treatment. So in order to recoup their losses and help with the research and development phase, before they seen any ROI, which is return on essentially their investment, they price their medication higher to recoup what they lost or recoup everything that they spent within developmental and research phase, because again, the SMA community is small. So there's not very many people that are going to need this type of medication. So they price the price tag much higher than they would say a condition where there's a large variety of people that need it. There's essentially less competition or less patients that need it.
You got it. It's a classic case of supply and demand in the pharmaceutical world. The smaller the patient population, the higher the price often is, since the company needs to make sure their investment pays off. It's definitely a balancing act for the companies, but it also highlights the importance of supporting rare disease communities.
So it says market exclusivity. Once a drug is approved and marketed, the company holds a monopoly for a period. They set a high price to maximize profits during this exclusive period before generic versions can enter the market. So in order for a generic version before a generic version can take place, there is a patent where the original medication or the original drug, for this context, it's Evrysdi, which is risdiplam, they hold the patent where nobody can copy or try to replicate the medication or try to, let alone create a generic version of the medication for liability purposes. So how long, what is the original, on average, the patent that before it expires where anybody can create a generic version? And generic version also means a much lower cost.
The patent for Evrysdi is expected to expire sometime between 2033 and 2038. Once that happens, generic versions can enter the market, which will definitely help bring the cost down. It's a lengthy period of exclusivity, but it ensures the company can recoup their investments before generics come in.
So essentially, you have another 8 to 13 years before you see the price tag being much cheaper, specifically for Evrysdi. So the next one says lack of regulation. In the United States, there is no government regulation on prescription drug prices, allowing pharmaceutical companies to set prices based on market demand and what the market will sustain. This often leads to higher prices compared to countries with price controls. So ChatGPT, can you explain and dissect what this all means?
Sure. Essentially, what this means is that in the US, there's no central authority that sets limits on how much pharmaceutical companies can charge for their drugs. Instead, the prices are determined by what the market can bear, meaning what insurance companies and patients are willing to pay. This can lead to higher prices compared to other countries that do have government price controls. Those countries negotiate prices, often resulting in much lower costs for the same medications. So it's a big factor in why some drugs are more expensive in the US than elsewhere.
So it says value-based pricing. Companies may use value-based pricing models that assign a high cost based on factors like the drug's effectiveness and the potential for life years gained, which can drive up the final price. So essentially, as they know SMA patients need this type of medication, or they see the perceived value that the patient will receive upon administration. So they often they up the price tag because they essentially see the supply and demand.
Exactly, you've got it. Value-based pricing is all about how much benefit the drug provides. If it significantly improves quality of life or extends life, the company may justify a higher price. For rare conditions like SMA, where treatment can be life-changing, the perceived value is higher, and that translates into a higher cost. It's definitely a complex balance of factors.
So Evrysdi is a daily medication, oral medication that you take daily, and the annual price for Evrysdi is up to $340,000 based on the patient's weight. But younger patients may cost less than $100,000 per year. The list price is capped at the maximum for patients over a certain weight and age, making the price dependent on a patient's individual needs. Financial assistance programs may be available to lower out-of-pocket costs for eligible patients. Maximum annual cost up to $340,000 a year annually for patients over 44 pounds above 6 years of age. Infant/younger patient costs less than $100,000 a year for infants under 15 pounds. Pricing structure: the cost is based on the patient's weight with a cap reached at a certain weight and age. Then the last one says financial assistance. Eligible patients with commercial insurance can potentially pay as little as $0 for a 30-day supply, with the copay program covering the rest up to a certain limit per year. So I'm sure a lot of individuals are wondering this themselves. So in regards to pricing structure, the cost is based on the patient's weight with a cap reached at a certain weight and age. So I personally know someone who is my age, which is around 26 years old, and he was taking Evrysdi. He was taking it roughly like 2-3 years back around that time. And they ended up switching back to Spinraza. But Um, so what I'm going with that is because it's talking about a lot about 6 years of age, and what did I see the other one at? It was essentially it's talking about like younger age individuals, but that's not entirely the case. So you can be older and still receive Evrysdi, which is Ridazepam, which is again the oral medication. So what is the age cap for taking Evrysdi?
So Evrysdi is actually approved for individuals as young as 2 months old, and there's no specific upper age limit. That means even adults, like the person you mentioned, can take it as long as they meet the weight requirements. It's quite flexible in that regard.
Yeah, this was a very fascinating episode. If you guys want to learn more about Evrysdi, let's just look this up. You guys can go to my YouTube channel and look at my other videos in regards to Evrysdi, and look up. You can look up Evrysdi. These are animated content videos, by the way, where I have a production team that helps me produce weekly content for you guys. And anyhow, we talked about side effects, treatments, how does it work, and we talk about the pros and cons behind Evrysdi, and all these other topics. And we have topics in regards to so many other things as well. SMA 4 new treatments in development. If you are unaware about the new treatments in the works, highly check out this video. Talk about a variety of different things. What are the travel challenges for individuals with SMA, and we talk about a multitude, a variety of different things in regards to within the SMA community. And this idea came into fruition when I myself, this was like a few years back, and I myself wanted to learn more about my own condition because I personally have SMA type 2. And I wanted to educate myself more about what is SMA. And at the time, AI wasn't really what it is now, where you can simply just look up something and kind of get some information, like how we're doing with this style of podcast. But, again, it wasn't like what it was today with AI. So it was much different then. So back then, as I began doing research, and you had to like really, really dig to find out information in regards to SMA. Like I wanted to know what causes SMA, why does SMA exist, how are you born with SMA, why is SMA progressive. I wanted to learn all of these different things, again, to learn more about myself. I wanted to become more educated and literate with my SMA. And, I did some research on YouTube, and I found very little to no research. And when I went on Google, that you had to like really, really dig to find information. And a lot of the information was like from several years ago. There was rarely information that was current, that was present. And I wanted to change that. I wanted to create what I couldn't find. So what I began doing is, me being the entrepreneur that I am, I reached out to a contact of mine, and I was like, hey, this is my idea. And I was like, of course I said it more professionally, but I was like, hey, this is my idea. Can we make this happen? I want to spread SMA awareness. And at the time, they weren't doing content like that. The producer that I reached out to, or the production team that I reached out to, they weren't doing content like that. So after I think it was like a year of some back and forth and limited financial resources to get it going, then it finally, after like a year, then we finally got a team together to make it happen, and we discussed some numbers and negotiated a little bit and figured out a price point that was suitable and more feasible for me at the time. So then I was like, all right, let's do it. I was like, let's try it out. Let's see how one video comes out, and the rest is history. So we've been doing this for a while. So by we, I'm talking about my production team, the one that helps me create the content and the idea behind the content and all of that stuff. And then me, I'm like the one that fully manages everything that goes on within SMA. So, I give them the idea, I tell them what I want, and I give them idea, they make it happen. I review the work, and I'm like, okay, we need to tweak this a little bit. We need to, I see a few errors here, let's do a revision here and there. and it gets published. So it's been quite the journey. But after a while, then again, I was like limited financial resources to create a lot of content. So of course I was like, okay, realistically I can do once a week, which we upload every Monday. And I was like, how can I produce much more content when I'm not in the financial position to upload daily, creating animated content. I'm not in that position yet. So I was like, what can I do? And I was just brainstorming and thinking. And I was like, why don't you start a podcast? And I was like, you have the program, the software to share your screen, record yourself, and go over it like that. I was like, it's not going to be perfect. I feel like 5 years from now, I'm going to reflect back on this and be like, oh yeah, I should have definitely done something different. But honestly, like, it's all about just having a unique, creative idea, and don't overthink the process and just go for it. And that's what I hope you guys can take away from not just this episode, but within my entire journey, is that when you see a problem, which for me in this context, which was the problem was you had to really dive deep and do a lot of diligence to find information. And particularly in YouTube as well, like there was very little to no content. And again, that information was from several years ago. And, I saw an opportunity. The problem is there wasn't anyone creating SMA-styled content, spreading SMA awareness. And that was a problem. And, the creative idea behind it was creating animated styled videos. And then I think we've been doing this for like 2 years. And then, after a while, then I was like, okay, what can we do differently? And I was like, create a podcast. Just do it. It's not going to be perfect. Nothing is going to be perfect in the very beginning. Just go for it. Get out of your own head. Stop procrastinating. Stop overthinking the process and literally just go for it. And that's what I hope you guys can take away from this video, is when you have an idea, it's creative, it's needed to spread SMA awareness, go for it, because you never know what the future holds. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you guys did, please like the video. Comment down below what you personally enjoyed within today's video, and comment down below as well what you would like to see within the next episode. And subscribe if you guys are new. We are so close to 100 subscribers on this YouTube channel. It is currently November 11th, 2025, and we are close to 100 subscribers. We currently have 84 subscribers, and we are so close to 100 subscribers. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. And again, as always, remember, grow through what you go through. Much love.